Sydney Sweeney has good genes.
I haven't seen that. I saw just some buzz of some people complaining. That would be an interesting one to talk about because I have no context. I'm curious what you guys think about that. But
guys, I thought one of them was fake. There's so many different clips that they came out with, and one of them is just balls to the wall crazy. Let me see if I can show you guys.
I assume no Zach today.
He's in Italy right now. He might join, but I'm not sure. Listen to this. It's incredible.
My body's composition is determined by my genes. Hey, eyes up here.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
I think that's real. I think that's real.
No, this one's real. This one's real.
Yeah, that's real.
Dude, first of all right, we want to talk about SaaS. Okay, so we're going to talk about SaaS. But I do think that ads of this variety are A+. Okay? Just like the astronomer, like Gwyneth Paltrow read, is A+. And the reason they're A+ is they're tapping into the zeitgeist in a way in which like most other ads just don't. Like most ads are like so worried about like a problem statement or a solution or whatever, like all the like stupid normal things that marketers do, but so few like tap into the zeitgeist. And like Sydney Sweeney is just like leaning into the fact that she did the SNL skit, which became like a meme. Then Dr. Squatch hired her for ads. And she like is in the zeitgeist for a particular reason. And American Eagle tapped her to play into that same like element of the zeitgeist. And I think that is excellent. Like, I think like to not do that is like missing a marketing moment, basically. And I think it's true for consumer, like what they did with the American Eagle ad. And I think it's true for SaaS. Like the astronomer ad or whatever, the read by Gwyneth Paltrow is so good because it like takes elements of like how does the consumer or how do people, just normal people, think about things, but everybody now knows the words Apache Airflow even though they have no effing idea what Apache Airflow, like, you know what I mean? Like nobody knows what Apache Airflow is, but everybody knows what Apache Airflow is.
And you only need 100 CTOs who care about that, who reach out for a demo, and it's like the whole thing isn't worth it for them, I'm sure.
No, dude, there's not even, you know what's going to happen in practice? By the way, like Jacob sees me do this, so he can attest to like how do SaaS, like how does a SaaS CEO who doesn't know anything about technology actually operate? It's like I hear a word and I'm like, guys, and then I say the word. Okay, so it's like I see this kind of ad and I'm like, Apache Airflow. I'm like, guys, should we be thinking about Apache Airflow? And I don't even know what the hell I'm saying, but like the number of CEOs who are going to do that is going to be massive because I'm more the average SaaS CEO than like some like deeply technical person.
That's true. Oh, wait. Speaking of Jacob, I love Jacob, but why is Jacob on here today? We should dive in on that real quick. What's the?
Dude, Jacob has been teasing the internet with building a SaaS company, and I wanted to know what kind of SaaS company.
Yes, it's true.
And how Jacob is thinking about what kind of SaaS company to build. Yeah. And I can't get him to tell me in private, so I figured, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put him onto a podcast and ask him. And we're gonna figure out together what kind of, like, how does Jacob think about how to build a SaaS company?
Because you just posted something. What was it? You said you signed the largest contract in your life or something like that recently.
Yeah, I can't talk about that publicly.
That's fine.
But yeah, I mean, I don't even have an answer for private, but I can tell you, I can tell you the ways that I've been navigating the journey and what the lessons that I've had and what I've been converging on.
Yeah, it would be cool too, because I mean, I feel like even learning a little bit more of your background, I know a little bit, and seeing some of the stuff, like you are a common thread, and it'd be interesting to learn more about like what problems you saw, like what were the things that you've been looking at and evaluating especially around the world of AI and all that over the last couple of years, and how that makes you think about like what SaaS can look like in this context too. Because I think you've got a pretty interesting perspective on that.
Yeah. I have strong opinions on SaaS and AI for sure.
Yeah.
Just like
Before
strong opinions in general. Just strong opinions in general. Loosely held though.
I've heard about this though, like this whole stealth mode thing. What is that? Why do tech founders keep the businesses they're building a secret? Like, what's the competitive advantage?
Relevant to me, the reason why I don't want to say yet. So the like big contract thing, that is completely different. It's a completely different thing. But to me, I think because I actually have people who care about what I build, because I have like some kind of inbuilt distribution, and I've spoken to Rishabh about this. It's like, I think there's only so many times I can use that. There's only so many times I can leverage that distribution. And so I want to be careful about doing that. I want to be careful about kind of saturating that and launching and relaunching over and over with different things. I also think people won't take me seriously if I sell them two different things, especially as I'm not totally sure. But now that I'm narrowing down into something that feels closer, I'm like being like, I've like kind of updated. It doesn't say that I'm just like building something new. It says building AI and advertising on my like socials. And when I talk to people, I'm like very open with what I'm thinking about building and what I want to build and stuff like that. So that's why that's why I was initially pretty, also because like it's fun to build up demand and to get people asking you, like build up latent attention and then capitalize on it as the game. But if you can't capitalize on it, then it kind of sucks.
So how have you been thinking about like what is the way to what is the way to start? So I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this, that like we talk about a lot of random things. We talked about like the structure of the company, like how do you fund it, all that sort of stuff. But the very, very beginning, like the stage that you're in, is super interesting, right? And I mean, of course, like Jeremiah, Zach, and I all did that a few years ago. Starting a SaaS company right now, when there's like this massive AI like undercurrent, like what does it make you think in terms of either like, and you pick where to start, like what customer base to address, what is the structure of the company, like who are the first people who you would hire, like is it a business person, is it another engineer? Yeah, just like start with any one dimension of company building and share how you're thinking about it.
Yeah. So, okay. Biggest lesson initially for me was I thought that I could just build anything that I felt was the greatest opportunity, which I convinced myself was true, but then kind of proved myself to be wrong. I think that I need to be somewhat inherently excited about what I'm building. And so, like going through the idea maze of this is a cool thing to build. Should I build for consumer? Should I build B2B? Should it be in a certain vertical or niche? Or should it be SaaS? For me, should it be e-commerce or marketing, advertisers? I started building a product which you have seen, and like probably there was something there, but I just couldn't get myself like inherently excited about it enough. Where the problem was, I think that a unique edge of a founder is you always have to be as close to the frontier or like as close to improvement as possible. And if I wasn't obsessively thinking about it all the time, then I always felt a step behind. And there wasn't a clear vision to me of what I'm working towards, what I'm building towards. So with that, it was like selling to B2B SaaS. I didn't fully understand the problem space. And so I always felt a step behind. But there's certain niches or verticals where I'm like literally obsessed with it and I'm always up to date with it. And I'm learning new things all the time and I'm thinking about it all the time. And that to me feels like I have a true competitive advantage in building in that space. And so that's how, and I just kept getting pulled back to like marketing, advertising growth. Like I just kept getting pulled back to it. Like the podcasts I was listening to, the articles I was reading, the parts of Twitter that I was hanging out in, so that's why I was like wandering in the desert and thought this castle was my castle, but then I came back to came back to the space. So that's like the idea side, I think. And to me, related, like I have pre-built distribution in that area that I can capitalize on, and that's exciting to me. Like, so I've started building, and I have, I think, the best marketers that I know in my phone that I'm texting and getting ideas and getting advice and like want to work with me. And I have CEOs of big businesses who are interested in testing it and trying it. You know, like that sets me apart so significantly if I was to build in different areas. So I just can't discount that. And specifically related to AI, I think if you're building, to me, I want to build something which delivers valuable outcomes to people. And the people who know how to design products that deliver valuable outcomes are the people who are doing it. And so having that connection feels invaluable too. Like if I can call on that person and say, how is this maximally valuable to you? How would you use this? That feels incredibly valuable. And then I guess in terms of hiring, this is the biggest, I'm sure like every CEO feels it right now, but this is the biggest challenge. Everyone good has a million opportunities. And so I think it's like, how do you convince people to work with you? And I have like a couple, when I'm ready for it, I have people who will jump on board and be excited about it. And to me, those have to be technical people, like super technical people to build an amazing product, because I've also realized that the best businesses also just have great tech, amazing tech. And I don't want to spend my time in the weeds trying to figure out how this is the best possible product, because there's a million different ways I think I can be more valuable and provide more leverage to the business.
That's interesting. So like one of the debates like we have had on this pod, and I know Jacob, we've talked about privately too, is like your ACV basically determines your TAM, basically determines what type of business you can build. And like, I hate that the world is so reductive, but you know, that kind of is helpful. Like it is helpful for things to be simple. And when you're building a product in the sort of like AI ads like world, how do you think about that question, right?
I think about it a lot because of you. So like I've spent a lot of time in the format offices, and that's made me feel like I've gotten my SaaS MBA. So like I think like in two different ways. I think in my like product minded way and my like SaaS MBA way. And I'm very cautious of that now. Like how do I grow a business that can get me to 10K ACV kind of, and easily justify that future. And I think it's feasible when you're eating into different parts of the budget of these businesses. So like I compare myself to a service business, which is like I think where you have to go if you are ambitious in this space. Like you have to think, how am I no longer a tool or a platform, but I'm delivering a service that people are willing to pay for? And my belief is that the services that I'm going to be in the short term augmenting or in the long term replacing are able to demand significant contract sizes, and are not doing work which is exceptional, like to say the least. And so I understand there is a difference there. There is like an inherent difference in a human delivering a service versus technology. And there's just kind of intrinsic differences in being able to pick up the phone and calling someone. But I'm trying to think, how can I sit in that spectrum to where I'm delivering enough value where the size of the contracts that people are willing to pay what I need, and there may be a user or someone sitting on top of that at a cost to me makes sense, or at a cost to an agency, for example, makes sense, and they're delivering that little piece that is required. And I'm validating that by asking people how much they're willing to pay, or like having at least honest discussions with people who I trust and how much they're willing to pay. And like everything is leaning in the right direction, like it's heading in the right direction for sure. So I think I do think about that a lot.
So let's talk about Icon. which has had this exact question this past week and has spiced up the Twitterverse. And Jack and Jeremiah, I'm like very curious how you interacted with that. Jeremiah, have you seen this thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to make sure everybody's on the same page, Icon released a managed service offering. And for whatever reason, that managed service offering drew a lot of criticism. Well, Taylor's post was perfectly reasonable. There were other parts of the internet where it drew some more criticism, I would say. And I think the reason people were criticizing it was they felt that it was advertised as a tool, and now it is like 180ing into it's a tool and a service, basically. And then I think it begs this much harder question of how should First of all, I guess I'm curious what you guys thought of this. What is your own opinions? And then I'm curious secondarily, where do you think the future of software is going? Like, does all software end up having a managed service offering, basically? Yeah, Jeremiah, why don't you start?
I mean, it's interesting because enterprise software has always been managed services, essentially. Like, there's like anybody who I know who works in like true enterprise software, at the end of the day, these massive contracts have humans who are doing the work of implementing the software, managing the software, customizing the software, doing all of that kind of stuff for these brands. And I think, or brands for these companies. And I think AI just enhances that, right? So like, I'm not surprised by this. I think, Jacob, you're talking about like the line item that you replace. Ultimately, like if you want to make money, replacing humans as a line item in a business is how you can make the most money. There's other things, but like that is an avenue to make a lot of money because humans are expensive. And so, it sounds like you're implying a little bit, at least, that you're kind of going up against service providers for some of this stuff with what you're building. I do really think like what the world is moving towards a combination of the two. And so you'll have there are probably cheap software solutions out there where you're willing to pay a small amount of money to manage this thing yourself. And then there's other more expensive services that are going to require basically like offloading the thought required to manage that system. And I actually think that's a really underrated part of software, like something I don't believe people are just going to vibe code everything in the future, because at the end of the day, you're not an expert in those things. So like when it comes to surveys, I have an entire team of people who spend 40 plus hours a week just thinking about how to use surveys the best way they possibly can for a business. And can AI fill some of those gaps? Yes. Maybe it gets really good in the future. I have no idea. But I think at the end of the day, I think most people are still going to trust a human to support a lot of those capacities in a way that you're not going to just trust a machine. And yeah, that may not be universally true, but I think that there's a piece of that will always, the people who are building the thing are going to be experts at it in a way that like your internal team might not be. So that's my thought. I'm curious what you all think about that.
I think first of all, I'm going to disagree with what you just said, but I'm going to answer the other thing first. I think that there's like a pyramid of value that is provided to a business to like deliver a certain outcome that they need. And that pyramid also sits on like a dimension of the total value that could be provided at the tip of that pyramid. And you have tools and platforms at the bottom, which are like the very basics that you need, like, I don't know, like an ERP or something like that, just like sits at the bottom. And then you have people that need to sit on top to actually deliver the outcome, which you need for your business to function, like closing your books or like creating your next purchase order with your supplier, for example. I think that the assumption has to be that AI is going to squeeze enough of that value like towards the top, where the work being done by the human is now at a scalable margin to where it can be considered SaaS, not like tech-enabled service or a service. or you have to believe that you're able to move the value upwards, so that the total value being provided from the human plus the tech itself is now greater. And I think those two things are happening. So like in marketing and advertising, I don't think marketers and advertisers are sophisticated enough to say that that top value point is fixed, or it's saturated, or it's the maximum or it's optimal. I think there's many different levers that you can provide if you can abstract away all of the busy work and the work being done right now to then provide an even greater service and charge even more for that. So like just like the difference between a really bad marketing agency and like Eric Seaford, like Rishabh's friend, is probably in if we're thinking in like contract value sizes, is probably like 6 figures in difference. And it's like, well, what if you can do everything that a marketing agency would do right now? And then if you need a person, that person is now doing so much greater, more valuable work, that you actually are able to charge more and be more scalable and do it at a margin that makes sense. So like that's the way that I think about software and service kind of coming together, or at least like how you use AI and a human to fill in the gaps. And then to Jeremiah, to your last point, I disagree with you. I think that software providers are actually exceptionally bad at understanding like what their users want and building products around that. And I think that in most cases, the businesses themselves are a lot better at knowing what they want. They just didn't have a mechanism for describing it. And now that they can vibe code, they have a mechanism to kind of display that without having to get on a call and explain to their like AE why they do what they want, kind of thing, which they don't want to do. And I'm seeing like it's cutting through a lot of the noise and generating a lot more signal. And so like I actually think that is going to be a problem when it comes to vibe coding.
Guys, I have a question. Does the service that Icon are offering do the thing that the software is supposed to do?
Well, I guess, Jack, the reason I wanted your opinion on this question is like you guys sell as a tool, don't you?
Yeah, workflow tool for sure.
Okay. You don't have a service offering that you sell.
No service.
Why not?
That's a good question. I think that the end user is the service provider. It's agencies and it's marketers at organizations, right? So they are providing the services using the tool.
I think that's actually part of the problem. I think that's why there was such reaction to the Icon announcement of having services, is that ultimately like the consumer of that product is largely service providers.
Yeah, they're pissed because they saw it as competition. They're pissed that Icon is able to charge less because they raised $1 trillion for the same service. Like that's the only reason why people were upset about it. They don't actually I don't think they actually felt morally or ethically like hurt by the fact that Icon now said that they were a service business. I think they were just pissed by the competition. It was all creative agencies that were upset about it.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What does the price have anything to do with raising money? This part of the debate that happened, I actually did not understand.
You can pull up one of the responses to my tweet. It was someone who runs an ad creative agency was upset that they are now delivering a service which is competitive to their service. And the one that I shared with you that went viral is the same. The guy advertised his own creative services in the first comment, and they are pissed because they think that because Icon raised so much money, they're able to charge cheaper prices, like $1,000 a month, I think, or whatever it is absolutely cheaper than a creative agency. And I think that's the real reason why they're upset.
But guys, I guess there's just two questions we have to answer. Does Icon, the software, do the thing they said it was going to do? And does the service that they're introducing do the thing the software was supposed to do? I think that don't get me wrong, I think they're super ambitious. It could be an awesome company, even as a service business, right? And not a software business. But I think the answer to both those questions is yes. It doesn't do the thing that it's supposed to do. And the service does the thing that the software was supposed to do.
If I was in their shoes, the way I would be thinking about this, so I don't know if this is how they're thinking about it, but here's how I would be thinking about it, given what I've seen. They know they want to charge $1,000 to $3,000 a month per customer. They know that the
Yes.
technology, like for the technology, and they're looking at it and saying the tech doesn't deliver what we promised it would deliver today. If we insert humans into the equation, we can get there, and eventually we'll remove the humans from the equation. I think that's how they're thinking about it. That's how I would be thinking about it in their shoes. And so at least it gives you the ability to ramp up this business. And essentially, you have a blend of service and software, and ultimately it becomes a software business. That's how I think that's how they're thinking.
Yeah. So Jack, I think the answer to both of your questions is yes. I also think that for this creative, like the person from the creative agency who was upset, I would think about it the way that Taylor thinks about it, which is like, you have to embrace the fact that technology is going to give you cost leverage and then continuously drive down the cost of providing any given service over time. Because by definition, technology is going to compress the cost or the price of any given service. So like assuming the same output, the price will go down, which is not the same thing as like over time, you cannot grow the pie for everybody because you're just doing more stuff, right? I think that the bet, and I have no idea whether they're going to be right or wrong, but I think that their bet is that technology will get to the point at which they can deliver this total thing at a price point at which they can support the building of a large company. Because like the biggest problem with Icon when it first launched, which has nothing to do with what anybody else is criticizing them for, but I have like has been my forever drumbeat, is the price was too low. It is like no more or less complicated than that. And like you can't build a venture scale business if you're selling a $500 a month product. You just can't. You can't do it. Like I don't know any examples of a venture scale business on a $500 a month product. And so like they have correctly.
It's got to be
okay. Yeah. Unless it's like a consumer product, yes.
Or like a Slack or something where it's like you can get a 10 million seats sold.
Yeah. I think like as soon as you say seats, like now you're like playing a trick. I know all the tricks. Okay.
Like, sorry, I'm trying to say I agree with you. There's a few exceptions, but it's like it's totally different TAM, right? Like the TAM is not a typical B2B TAM in that context.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think one of the big challenges that Icon's created for itself as well is, and I think there's nothing wrong with swinging for the fences and trying to build something that can't be built right now. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But this kind of reminds me of what you were saying earlier, Jacob, about not telling people about what it is that you're working on, what you're building when you're building in different directions. You don't want to cash in on that check too early. And your reputation is going to change if it's a product that doesn't have product market fit, that doesn't go as far as your ambitions for it, right? If it isn't the right product, let's say, I think their reputation with their market is potentially irrecoverably damaged, right?
I disagree there. I disagree there for sure. Like everyone knows Icon, everyone's talking about Icon. At the end of the day, they're not going to let their thoughts on Icon get in the way if Icon actually delivers them 100 ads a month at a beatable price because they want to grow their business. So like, I don't think it's wrong that Icon launched and relaunched a million times and created this much attention. Like then there is product market fit. Like given a product that works, there is absolute extreme one of a kind product market fit. It's just the only risk now is, does the product get there? And then like if the product doesn't get there because the tech doesn't get there because that's what they rely on, like that's the big risk for them, then Kenan just like kind of fails and his reputation is damaged, but everyone will still use them. Everyone will use them.
I'm going to share something that I think is deeply ironic. Is at the end of the day, like you have to like see what people do, not what they say. And I kind of agree with Jacob. Like the market just does stuff, even if they like say it's unsavory, right? Like this is like a tale's old as time. Now on the flip side, his execution risk has actually gotten extraordinarily large because the people who actually get the most turned off is potential employees. And the potential employees are the people who are the ones who are going to build the technologies that actually get them to that point. And that's where like image risk comes in, because it's like you have to actually affirmatively decide whether or not you want to be known as someone who worked at Icon. And that, I think, is hard. The rest of it, I think, is actually a non-issue. And so I think he has added risk to himself in a massive way, but I think he has done it entirely on execution, not on market.
One thing that I think is really interesting is the way they talk about like being an employee there. Like if you want to, I don't know, you guys are probably saying some of this too. Like we work 7 days a week. We have, you have to like work has to be your identity. Expect calls at 3 a.m. That kind of like I saw a bunch of this stuff, and I'm actually curious how you guys think about that because I have very mixed feelings. I actually respect the idea of like if that is the culture you're trying to build, being very clear about that and going all in on it. But it also does seem like your work pool and your talent pool.
I don't.
Oh God, yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off. I was just gonna say, I think all of that can be fine if you can show that you can deliver what you say you're gonna do. The problem that I have is that on the one hand, you're saying, hey, we have this extreme culture. And then on the other hand, the market is like, there are haters essentially who are saying like, your product can't do the thing. Now my problem is like, I mean, dude, I want to work somewhere where you call me at 3 a.m, but because we are killing it, not because we're flubbing. That's like the fundamental problem, right? Like people at people at Fermat, it's like, there's a certain expectation of like the culture here. I'm sure you guys have a certain expectation of the culture at No, and it's like, and that culture delivers this product. You know what I mean? It's like you got to know what you're signing up for from the inputs all the way through to the outputs.
I think to understand their culture, you have to understand Kenan a little bit, and he's like he is that, like he's not playing it, like he is that person. Like he a while ago he tried to hire me, so he messaged me on LinkedIn. This is when Icon kind of blew up, and then he texted me, and then he FaceTimed me instantly. And like I believe that he hadn't slept in 3 days. I believe that he had spent all the time in the office. He asked me the most insane questions that a CEO would never ask someone. He told me things about, he was like, yeah, I'm like neurodivergent. Like there's a massive chip on my shoulder. Like there's something wrong with me. I don't remember exactly what he said, but like he is literally that guy. And so like, I think like unapologetically, like absolutely he believes that should be the culture and he wants to surround himself with those people. And so like that, I think that's like super important. I think there's a way that people can play that culture. Like they can play the like, 7-7-12 or whatever it is, like 7 days a week kind of thing. I forgot what it's called, but anyway, yeah, Kenan is like literally like that. So I think it makes sense. I think that culture works, again, as Rishabh said, like if the product works, but if you fail over and over, then you will fizzle out and die. But momentum will drive that culture, because like everyone actually really works like that. Like my friends in Silicon Valley, like they work like that anyway. Like we're all working all the time, grinding it out in like random offices anyway. It's just not publicized, and their employees are too. But momentum is like the most important driver, and so I think if momentum fails, then they're in a lot of trouble.
Right. I mean, I don't think anyone's immune for this. Imagine you bought a product and it let you down. It didn't do the thing it was supposed to do. And then you left it some time and it came back with a new promise. It can do the thing now, and you buy it again. You spend some number of hundreds or thousands of dollars, and then it doesn't do the thing that it said it was going to do. It isn't zero cost to evaluate whether this product is going to do the thing. And if you've already been burnt once or twice, and these are important people, maybe your TAM has shrunk because your ACV is nice and high. How many times can you play that game, right? And no one's immune from this. I'm trying to think of a few products. Cyberpunk was a video game, right? I'm not sure if you guys remember. Cyberpunk came out. It wasn't finished. People were upset. I think sales were impacted by the fact that the game wasn't finished. There was another one called No Man's Sky. I'm not a gamer, but I just know that these products kind of didn't hit well with the market. And then there's Apple Maps. Has that ever recovered? Is that being used? Or are people just using Google Maps now? Like Apple Maps was terrible when it first came out, and people just don't use it. I'm aware of.
Let me give you a hot take on why this is different. Hot take for the podcast. This is the equivalent of selling ads to e-commerce brands. Imagine you went to a heroin addict and you told them that, and they really wanted heroin, and you told them that this hit of heroin was valid heroin, and it wasn't. You could still offer it to them like 50 to 100 times, and they would still try it every time because they're an addict. Like ads are the lifeblood of these businesses, so, and it's like, and the way that these algorithms work is it's literally an addiction. Like it's literally you become addicted because that one ad can just get you there, you know, like just that one killer ad that can crush can like take you to the next level. And so I think he can keep doing what he's doing over and over again until the product works. And I don't think he has harm of saturating his market.
I mean, so. Cool.
I understand what you're saying. I do though also agree with Jack that like there is like the evaluation becomes, there's more scrutiny in future evaluation. There's more like time that goes into that. It's like if you just wanted to quantify it, like your sales team is going to it's going to cost you more from a sales standpoint to close those deals than it would if it just works the first time, right? So like even thinking about ad platforms, because that is maybe a good analogy there. TikTok, for example, like they do a lot of really, like they've been very powerful for a lot of businesses, but you also see businesses that'll try it. They do keep trying it, but they don't feel like they get enough traction. There's other platforms that are like that as well, Snap and like basically anything but Meta has this problem where, and even Meta probably does not, it's just not at the same scale, where people will keep coming back and trying for sure, but like the cost of that evaluation, the time it takes, the amount you're willing to commit in future things, it's gonna like there is like an erosion of like your expectation changes of what it's going to do, and it does have some sort of impact. I mean, I think about this in the businesses that I run. We have this problem too. Like it's not the same in like, I don't know. We do a pretty good job of delivering, but the reality is we don't always deliver the first time. In fact, like a lot of times the first version of something we launch doesn't deliver. And it's a hard thing. Like it is hard to get somebody to come back and try it again after it hasn't delivered. Like you're right, Jacob, that like this is a little bit different because of like the cost in the business and all that. But I still think there's some cost of evaluation and like building of trust that happens. So and the reality is every SaaS struggles with this. It's going to ever nail. Like the odds of you actually nailing it the first time when you launch something new are extremely low.
Right. But how many first impressions do you get? Right.
Well, actually, I would say it the other way around. I'm not sure it's like first impressions you get. I think for any piece of software, for any given need, there is a cycle time. And the more extreme your product market fit, the more that time condenses. So like Meta ads, I would bet it's like 3 months, like some ridiculously short amount like that. It's like, man, I couldn't get it to work. And then the new quarter starts and you're like, this quarter, got to get Meta ads to work. But it's not 3 days. I want to be super effing clear about that. Like that doesn't exist anywhere. Okay. ChatGPT, probably 3 months, right? People who are just like, this AI thing, every quarter, it's like they try it, you know, like, and these are like the most extreme product market fit products on the planet. It's interesting. At Firmat, I actually measured this precisely for this reason. And we're at like somewhere in the 12 to 18 month time horizon, which I'm effing thrilled about. That's really short.
You get like, a shot. Every year you get a shot at it.
If I get a shot every year, that is insane because that's like roughly the same timeline as a renewal. That's crazy. Okay. For like, you know, for most SaaS. And so the real question for Keenan is just like, what is his cycle time? Right. And my guess is it's like definitely not 3 months, but it's probably less than 18 months. And so like he just has to like weigh that cycle time against like how he chooses to operate his business and his runway. And that's it. And that's the game.
This is exactly right. Like this is the problem. And I think you've outlined it really well. My guess is his is probably like 6 to 12 months, to be honest. Like because of the space he's operating in, the problem he's solving, the potential impact of that, it's actually probably fairly short. And so I guess going back to Jacob's point, like it is lower risk of him screwing up than it is for me to screw up because mine is, I don't explicitly measure it. But anecdotally, I know it's in that like 12 to 24 month range as well.
I'm definitely not the expert on the consumer journey. Jeremiah would be better than me to speak on this. I guess as a consumer, I can speak about it, of marketing tech. I feel like there are two first impressions you get. You get what is it and what does it do and does it work, right? And decision makers are trying to answer those questions as quickly as possible, right? One of the nice things about know is you know what it is on face value. The branding is really good. I want to know more about my customers. And the joke about format is I don't know what it is. I actually have to explore a little bit to understand what format is and then whether it works, right? So that's kind of the effect of branding, right? The whole understanding what it is on at a glance. So I think that matching the way you go to market with the consumer journey is pretty important, right? Knowing your customer and then making that easy for them, right, to buy.
It's funny too, because it's like, you, Rashad, like you need a sales conversation, right? So it's actually like it's a conversation starter potentially in that context, right? I'm looking for self-serve as much as possible in the context of my business. And so like as on the nose as possible to get somebody to understand and to actually like take action is beneficial for me. So yeah, it is an interesting way of thinking about it.
By the way, Jeremiah, you should do this study. You want to know why? Not that you have an outbound sales team right now, but eventually at some point you will. Once you hit that number, you just outbound all of your previous customers and you have like a surprisingly high close rate.
Okay, I actually, how do you measure that? So like what I know when I say anecdotally, I know that people come back, right? So it's really common for somebody to work with us for 6 to 12 months, stop for a year, come back. That's a really common thing, right? For a variety of reasons, right? So I know that. I know like those conversations.
You have to measure, the only thing that you can measure is the affirmative boomerang time, because you can't measure the negative, right? The negative is infinite. So like you just take that number. So everybody who comes back, look at the range of like 20th to 80th percentile. Take the lower bound on that range because you have done nothing in their boomeranging. And so now with a little bit of intent push, more likely than not, you're going to end up at the starting point of that range. And that's when you start hitting the phones and you hit those people. We did that this week. And yeah, like the data is insane, actually.
It's actually interesting. I love this because I have hundreds of customers that have churned. So could be good.
I want to talk about an exchange you and Rashab had a while back now about Rashab building tools for himself. Do you remember it?
Yeah, dude, you said that I would be vibe coding things for myself, and I said there's no way. Like, it is not worth my time.
I think I said that there's a lot of things that you could theoretically create that would be worth your time.
Yeah, dude, give me one. It's totally fine to do it on the pod. Yeah.
Okay, we'll just take the one that I said right now. What if it took you half a day to create a tool that went into Salesforce, looked at churn date, then looked at re-sign date, or like when the second opportunity came in and automatically created an outbound flow for every single one of those customers? Like if that took you half a day, then that's worth your time. That like it's 100% worth your time to do that.
Dude, but this is the problem, man. The problem is that like I already like I pay Salesforce to take care of that for me. Like I just create a report in Salesforce. Let's just pretend the Salesforce didn't do it for the sake of the argument. Like I would much rather pay software to run that report. And then like my SDR team can like hit them basically, right?
Can I tell you my problem with it? Because I have very strong opinions on this as well. I'm 100% with you, Rashad. Like my problem is that it's never done. So I will go vibe code something. I do this all the time. I build something for myself, a first version of it, but I can't maintain it. I don't have time to go back and try to figure out how to like actually get the things that I need. And so it's just a waste of my time at the end of the day. Like this is what I've stopped doing it because inevitably what happens is I get something out there, it's not good enough and it never ends up moving forward. And I just wasted 4 hours. So like it's better for me to find a solution that can actually go execute that for me as opposed to me spending my time on it. That's my opinion. But I understand, like I get it, but it's also like I think stage, like the amount of things you have to manage and where you're at has a different impact. Like 5 years ago, it would have been different for me because I could have spent 2 days worth of time in a week on this. Now I'm lucky if I have 2 hours in a week to actually be able to think about something. And by the time I come back to it, I've lost all the context and the ability to actually make any real progress on it.
Okay, that wasn't one of the examples I was trying to get at. Anyway, I think there's elements of the FirmApp product that Rishabh could spin up in a certain environment that would be closer to what he likes and that what he wants for their like AI features, for example, because I think there's like room to grow there in terms of some of those features. And then he could hand that off to one of his engineers, and they would scoff at him. They would scoff at him, and they would say, "No, I don't want to look at this. Like, you're not an engineer." Blah blah blah. But like, if it was
Okay,
properly handled,
this use case I agree with completely. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, but okay, now we're talking. Now we're fucking talking. 100% I agree with this.
okay,
Okay.
yeah,
Like AI making the CEO's ability to meddle significantly higher. Hell yes. I'm all in. Because like I can go in and say like, guys, like yeah. So if that's what you're suggesting, like, hey, if a CEO can do X, then like everything is going to change. I am 100% in agreement.
But
yeah.
could you have like a chief meddler, right? That you just Slack message and they go and meddle for you, right? And they're just so much faster, right? And then you can go and do something else.
I think there's information loss that happens in a company where like there's a clear goal of what you want, or maybe it comes from a cost. Like you, like Rishabh, you see the most you have the most information, the most context on value in your business, and then you go and then you say tell Shreyas, and then Shreyas tells someone else, and then it goes to an engineer, and then the engineer like has their own spin on what happens, and then that spin is always going to be different to what you wanted. If you could cut through and you could provide them the most information and the most signal by providing them code that represents what you want, I think that would be worth. I think that would be worth your time, and it's a sick product. I think someone should build it. Yeah, it's a sick product too.
I do this as well, and it's like if I've got 30 minutes, I can give you something that's more than just like words on a page and something a little bit visual. Then it is more helpful.
Yeah. What's more signal per token than code? Definitely not words.
Cool. Well, it's great chatting. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
thank you.
awesome, man.
Thank you.
All right. See y'all.
Appreciate
Bye.
you guys. Something.